Mitali Israni, Senior International Marketing Director at Pantheon IO. Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you, Sam.
So, Mitali, TV news journalist turned marketer. That's just wicked in itself. We also had Ro Garcia on, who had a similar journey, which is
Amazing.
awesome. You've also previously been an AI advisor, marketing advisor at Veed, and also worked at EY. And I know we've got a question for you later from EY. And someone's just started banging outside my door, but it's okay. But Natalie, it'd be great to get some context on kind of where you're at now and how you ended up in this ABM world.
Yeah, so I mean, I've spent like a big chunk of my career in B2B SaaS, B2B SaaS marketing, really in the CDE stage of companies growing like their EMEA/international marketing teams. And like the more we are trying to like, especially when like companies are early stage, they need to be super hyper focused, and especially when they're trying to like go into like these enterprise or like strategic accounts, and that's where like the ABM kind of comes in. So like ABM is a tactic or a channel, so there are like multi-channel tactics that we typically think through when we build our integrated programs, but like ABM is a strong one, especially when you're trying to like set yourself apart in like a crowded vendor space where there are so many software providers. You need to be very, very focused and very clear on what your USP is. So that's kind of why I have been a big champion of ABM. And ABM, I think, has been something that has been going on for like years. The way we are doing it has like sort of evolved now. So I think I heard ABM like 10 years ago, but like now how we do ABM has changed with a lot of like the tool set and the AI tech stack. So we just have more intent now and more intelligence to run smarter campaigns.
Awesome. Yeah. And I totally, on that point of like being able to stand out, I think I totally agree. And for like startups, even before series like B, C, D, E, like seed, series A, like the only way to really get traction now is to go so deep on like a vertical or a set of accounts,
Yeah.
or it's just like impossible. So great stuff. I am going to pose you, or we'll roll into the questions. We're going to go down chronologically, the questions that we've collected for you. Are you ready for question one?
Let's do it.
Nice. So challenge one came in from Mustafa Chowdhury at HackerRank. He runs ABM at HackerRank. He
Nice.
asked, "What's the most actionable data for your use case that translates directly to tactics or program scenarios that you use today?" So, in essence, I think what he's asking for here is like, what, like, are there any specific triggers, that basically set the foundation for action on your in your campaign?
Yeah. So typically, like when we run campaigns or ABM campaigns, the main metric is to see account level MQAs or account level behavior, right? Like I prefer that over like vanity MQLs. And when you kind of look at like these account level intent, you want to see who's engaging from like a certain industry.
Mhm.
Is someone engaging from certain buying roles? And based on that, you can kind of run different plays, right? So if someone from a certain industry is engaging with your content, you can put them into like a different play based on like your industry ABM campaigns. If they have engaged with something more deeper or education content, where they're starting to like hit with your pricing or like your security, like more deeper down into like your web pages, it's a different play where you can run like multi-threaded plays with your SDR team or send them bespoke content so that they're probably more further down in their journey. And I think when you look at like ABM, the most important data would be not chasing a lead, but like understanding the marketing qualified account. Who are these marketing qualified accounts? What's the what are the signals they're providing? What kind of content they're engaging with you? And then based on that, if you see an ICP match, you can run different plays, whether that's like personalized emails, one-to-one ad campaigns, role-based nurtures, or like SDR social touches, or the whole mix to kind of make sure the ABM journey is slightly more bespoke for these accounts.
Mhm. And on really good answer. Or it felt like almost like textbook play in theory, but like I won't add too many follow-on questions, but it does get me thinking. Like, how are you kind of actually coaching sales to like act on those signals that you mentioned? Or do you coach sales, or is it just a case of like fingers crossed and having like a really competent sales team just to get on with it?
I mean, I think when you're running an ABM program, like everyone needs to be aligned. So you bring in sales right at the start of it. And when you're building these programs, you build in that alignment that, like, hey, we're running, if we're trying to go behind a certain account or certain industry, at the start of like the journey is when you bring in sales. You almost work in like in pods. So like there's someone from solutions consulting, there's an SDR, there's a marketing person, and then there's a salesperson, and everyone has a unanimous kind of ownership. ABM is not like a silo that is run only by marketing. Everyone is involved. So there are um, different roles that each one of these teams play, and then they all have accountability to kind of drive a marketing qualified account. It's not just marketing's job.
Yeah, and I think like those companies that are new to ABM or like really wanting to kind of adopt the, let's call it philosophy or whatever, like the strategy of ABM, right? I think sometimes they try and do too much on their own as just marketing departments in the beginning without including sales, which is probably where the breakdown and disconnect comes. But I also know we're going to cover that in future questions. So I won't go on too much. Challenge 2 came in from Gabriella Sellers at EY. And you, having worked at EY, it was great to speak to Gabriella. To be honest, I think they call it marketing excellence over there. But the whole operation sounds phenomenal. Well, that might have just been the way Gabriella was selling it to me. No pun intended, with a name called Sellers. Anyway, ADHD off the charts. Her question was, how can ABM teams in large, complex organizations adopt small business mindsets to stay innovative and impactful? And I think, some organizations call that entrepreneurs, don't they?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I have noticed when I've been at larger organizations, it's a lot tougher to kind of bring in some of these new philosophies or like programs because there's high level of complexity, bureaucracy. They also want to focus on scale. Whereas when you're a small business, you can pivot quickly, you can be more agile. Uh, you can have more bias for action. But I think if a large business really wants to adopt the ABM philosophy or kind of that mindset, I think focus super important. Focus on the right accounts. Many a times these large companies have like so many verticals, so many account segments, and they sometimes want to like go and run ABM for all these account segments. So I think I would say when you're kind of running an ABM program, test it on like your most top high priority accounts. So that's where you like have a tiered ABM strategy. Your top tiered accounts gets like a bespoke one-to-one ABM strategy. If it's like your tier 2 accounts, you get a one-to-many approach. And then if it's like your tier 3, they just get like always on ABM digital kind of stuff. And then I think the other thing would be to kind of break down silos and like just foster that alignment. When it's like a bigger organization, it's hard to bring like everyone in the room and like move them in that same direction. So I think if they can manage to get these two things lined up, which is like hyper focus and personalization, and then aligning like everyone who is an owner on like moving these accounts down like further down your funnel, that's kind of half the battle won.
Already seeing a common theme of communication and alignment. So that's superb. Question 3 that came in was from Mason Cosby. Mason is great. He owns a great ABM agency called Scrappy ABM. Highly recommended to all US clients. He asked, what would be your $200 a month ABM tech stack?
Yeah. Look, does not need to be expensive. Like if you're a smaller business just starting out, it's I think more about like the orchestration or how you run these programs, because people have been doing ABM, even before these tech stacks came into play. I think the main thing is to just run a very tight ship. So you need to have like a couple of basic things, like a good CRM, so that you can track all your account data, your contacts, align your accounts, organize your accounts. You need to have like a ad platform to run targeted accounts. So if you're trying to do like a one to many or like a one to few approach. And then you need something, if you want to do something more top of funnel, you need things like a sales intelligence platform that need not be necessarily expensive. You can get some of the free versions as well. and then you want like a tool that you can track like your website visits, right? So that's one way to kind of capture some of these ABM signals, which some of these bespoke enterprise ABM tools club it into like one big offering. So you can kind of piecemeal some of your key important marketing ops tech stack and run like some ABM test plays before you kind of invest in something more ABM kind of focused software.
And like on that, yeah, it's a really good point, and it sounds like we're in agreement that I guess a lot of big companies are bloated with their tech stack. Why do you think that is? Just this is more of like a cycle. Do you think people just believe that's a shortcut, or they fundamentally think they need um, these tools to run ABM?
So I've noticed like in some of the companies that have been, they have all the tech stack, but like it's almost like they have a Ferrari but they run it as a Toyota. So you have like the tech stack, but I think they're all these tech stacks are not integrated, they're not aligned, you're not using it to its full potential. So I think big companies think that this is like a short-term fix, but like if these tech stacks are really like used fundamentally in a more rigorous manner, and like you really spend some time like using those insights, driving those insights or sharing those insights with the relevant teams, like giving it some time. I think also people think, oh, let's do ABM. Salespeople are like, yeah, we need ABM now, and they want immediate impact. They think like ABM is a 3 month play, but actually it's a 9 to 12 month play, right? You're not going to move these big accounts further down your funnel in a short term period of 3 months. So they think that these tech stacks will solve that or expedite that process, but I think then they just don't end up driving that adoption. And then they have a lot of tools that they can work with, but then it's they don't fully use it to the most. So I think it's important to have like your key tech stack, but I think running these plays, that's where the alignment piece comes, right? Like how long do you run these ABM plays? When do you start measuring the progress or the impact of it? And who takes credit for ABM? It doesn't. ABM is a joint effort, so we shouldn't go into these finger pointing battles between like, oh, this is like a sales qualified opportunity, this is a marketing qualified, it's a marketing sales SDR qualified account, and it's a joint effort, which is what like which is where people struggle, I think.
I've had some feedback before talking with people like Henry and Bass that who work in ABM. The closer it gets to the deal being closed, that's when sales starts kind of like snag on the credit, want to take the credit. It's all like happy plain sailing at the start of the campaign, like, hey, we've got this understanding, and then towards the end, that's when the friction starts to happen. When in reality, like you said, as long as the graph's going up and to the right, everyone should be happy. Also, one other thing that you've said, which it surprised me, it's only just kind of occurred in my head. Um, the long way is almost like the short way. Like ABM, like actually just caring about your customers rather than looking for shortcuts is the way to win now. But the thing that kind of just triggered in my head is you could probably see why people think it is a shortcut, because how you opened this episode, you mentioned like the saturation. There's so many like companies out there now, like you've almost got to like niche down to like really kind of establish yourself. Whereas prior to this, like from the 2000s to even like to 2016, 17, the whole, you could buy it as a shortcut, right? And maybe people like spray and pray. I remember when I first discovered Apollo, I was like, yippee in like 2017, I could get leads through the door like that. But like, you can't take that mentality into like today's market,
Yeah.
which is what's kind of like clicked for me. I'm learning. This is good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mitali. Right. Challenge 4 came in from Dimana Markova at Down to Earth Marketing. Used to work with Dimana, lovely lady. She asked what similar sort of question, but more of like a case study, I guess. What's the most creative way you have solved a problem with no budget?
Yeah, I mean, again, some of the things might sound repetitive, but I'll kind of give some more examples or like, unpack this on how we've kind of done this when we are like, when you need to run like some quick quick plays, or you need to kind of run some programs and you don't like budget's not uh when there's not enough budget, I think again being like hyper focused, uh driving personalization over like promotion, so things like bespoke gifting, bespoke landing pages with like the right messaging, recorded content, recorded videos, and like tying that also back to like the core challenge that your prospect or customer is facing. So making sure your messaging is on point. That's kind of like a zero tactic or a zero cost way on driving awareness within an account, or driving some consideration within an account, where you've gone ahead and like put in the effort, created like a bespoke content piece, created a bespoke landing pages, got like the right like solution experts to like record a video and drive a really personalized uh, message, whether it can be, and use like creative channels, right? Like we've used things like LinkedIn voice notes, LinkedIn video messages to kind of, uh, get into the inbox, the crowded inbox of our prospect and customer. Another thing that we've kind of done is like when some of our high intent customers or prospects are uh, have come up with some commentary on LinkedIn, we'll get our sales or a solution expert to like write some interesting like cross messaging, which is like very pertinent to the problem or challenge. So you build some level of consideration, and like through like social channels or social selling, that's another kind of way. So I mean, ABM need not always be high intent or bespoke personalized ads and sponsored messaging. It can be some like low cost creative ways where you can like build awareness within like your top accounts as well.
Was it commentary? You mentioned LinkedIn commentary. Was that how you
Yeah.
described it? Yeah, that I feel like is an underused kind of tactic. It kind of feels like free ABM real estate, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like you don't
Yeah.
need any like in-mail credits or anything like that. But yeah, you can kind of engage with them and meet them where they are.
Yeah, and
On
they always will check their feed, right? Because they have put in some like that's their prime real estate. It's on their LinkedIn feed, and they will 100% like check what this is. And even if they don't know you, they'll at least like see what that person's written. Whereas if you send them an email, there's a larger chance that they might ignore you.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's just about having the well, it's my show, cojones. I probably shouldn't. Yeah, cojones is fine. To like do that in public, right, and make sure you're talking sense. Which brings me to
Yeah,
another
that's
follow-on
the most
question:
important thing. Yeah.
is like we're all obsessed at the moment, like scale. Like let's package this up as a playbook, right? But you can't really do. I want you to kind of like push back on me if you can, but like I don't think you can really do that, can you? It's like how can you kind of playbook or categorize reps to do that, because like you said, sometimes you need like a solutions expert on that topic to have a comment. Like have you had any success in like almost rolling that out as a playbook among like reps, if that makes sense? Or is it is it
Not with reps. It's only with like for high strategic ABM accounts where like the rep is also like a very seasoned expert. He understands the product, he understands the industry. It's not like, oh, that's a thing, right? Like ABM is not handed out uh to like commercial accounts or to like SMB accounts. It's a very one to many, one to few uh high deal value play, because it's a lot of like marketing investment. There's like the SDRs investment, the SDs investment. So there's a lot of like investment from a lot of people internally. So if we're running like a program, it will be everyone who knows what they're doing, versus this is we don't try to run this at scale. For like when you're trying to run things at scale for like more a large set of accounts, we'll do more top of funnel things, which would
yeah,
be targeted ad spends and that kind of tactics, which can be slightly more, that's I think more like a creative way of running like your digital demand.
for sure. But it is, I mean, it is good like advice if there's any SDRs watching. It's like good advice if you want to get ahead and like act like a top performer. It's probably worth, and you're trying to book in meetings, like that's probably worth something getting clued up on, as opposed to just trying to secure the meeting, like kind of having some knowledge
I
and
know.
expertise and doing that. But I mean, like when I started in my sales role, I probably wouldn't I'd have been too scared to say the wrong thing. Anyway, challenge 5 came in from talking to big players. Steph Iacono at 6 Cents. He's the marketing director at 6 Cents. He asked, why are some organizations unable to move past lead based marketing, even when ABM would be a better fit? And yes, I feel like obviously Steph has got an angle here with 6
I
Cents, but
know, I can
take,
imagine.
take it
I
away.
mean, uh, I think like obviously with like ABM, like fundamentally, like marketing is measured, traditionally on leads, right? Like the plumbing is based in such a way that we are capturing leads in the CRM. We don't like measure on like account level. So it takes like a mindset shift. Even like SDRs are measured on like leads not worked versus like accounts engaged. So the fix would be to kind of try changing. If you want to move away from like an MQL to an MQA mindset, you need to kind of track both. I'm not going to say you only track MQA. You have to track like uh your funnel, because that kind of gives you an indication. But like it's also on like big enterprise or strategic accounts, it's important to kind of change that mindset, because the buyer group is changing, right? It's like a uh group of people who are kind of owning that account, or like group of people who are part of the buying committee. So it needs to move away from like MQLs to like tracking account progression. So whether an account is like is in aware stage or engaged stage, or how many meetings have you had from an account, what's like the change in the deal size once you ran an ABM program. Did you see an uptick in the deal size? So those are the kind of things that you need to start measuring, versus measuring like only leads, which is where the scoreboard needs to kind of change. And it
And
it kind of takes a little longer as well, like to kind of prove the impact of ABM, which is why people kind of very comfortably move back to like tracking leads or the MQL volume, versus like ABM is like a longer term play, right? So you can't show immediate, you can't go into like pipeline council meetings and be like, oh, there has been no change in like your accounts.
yeah, and I mean that's going to be met with like a lot of friction internally when it comes to changing the comp plan or things like that, which probably would be the fastest way to kind of amend things. Um, yeah, it's tough. I mean, I'm seeing this from both sides. I used to work in sales, but anyway, good, strong answer. Challenge 6 came in from Mike Davies at Red Hat. So we've had all the big organizations today. He asked one of my favorite questions, which is, what is one sacred cow in B2B marketing that needs to be slaughtered, and why haven't you done it yet?
I think this is like a two-edged sword, because we
It's a what?
still
Sorry.
chase. It's a two-edged sword because still chase it. So I think if I had to pick one thing that can be slaughtered, is like that constant chase of like leads versus like, because that demonstrates the wrong behaviors. It rewards volume and activity versus like quality and like actual business impact. You're not really chasing the revenue, but you're chasing something very top of funnel, which is not even going to drive. Most of like the leads are going to die down. They're not really qualified, and you kind of demonstrate bad behaviors in like marketing teams and SDR teams. So I think if there's one thing that I had to kind of slaughter, would be that marketing is not just only measured on lead volume. Like they're measured on things like revenue, uh, and uh, actual like impact on pipeline, versus just something very top of funnel. And the other thing that I think would do, which is connected to that, would be like the constant gating of ebooks or content, just to kind of drive some top of funnel activity. A lot of marketing teams, when pipeline gets impacted, or when lead volume is low, they start gating content. But like I think most of the decision making happens when you ungate your content, provide everything to like your customers and prospects, so that they can take a more educated journey. Because like most of people don't want to go and like fill a form and download content. They want to like spend some time driving or learning a bit more about your product, because like almost 70-80% of your decision making is already happened by the time you meet the salesperson.
Yeah, and I went to the Inspire event by Six Sense, and
Yeah.
again, everyone's got some hidden genders here or there, but I heard that there it was something like, if you're not in those discussions before like a company reaches out, or you manage to like secure the meeting, like you've got a 20% chance of like winning the deal, as
Yeah.
opposed to like being one of the
Yeah.
front runners. So
Yeah.
on the gating of content, why do you think we're reluctant to do that? Ungate everything. Is it like a shift? It puts too much pressure on sales like straight away because they need it all. Guess comes back to the comp plan, really, doesn't it? They need to hit their leads and their
I
numbers.
think they need to hit, like SDRs need to hit a certain number of meetings, right? That's what they're measured on.
Yeah,
If they don't have like something top of funnel coming down that they can progress with, then how are they going to like convert these leads into meetings, and then how will salespeople have meetings? So I think people do still uh, chase like some level of activity which is volume driven or like productivity driven, versus actually seeing, oh, are these accounts even engaged, are these accounts even in market? Like you still have your, like, all reps would have their target account list, which may or may not be high intent accounts, but they'll still kind of drive some amount of activity towards them.
yeah. I mean, yeah, I've got my thoughts on the whole comp plan thing, but we're running out of time. We are nearly there though. So, challenge. This is the final question
Yeah.
from the guests. Came in from Mariska Van Burekering at Enlightening.
Yeah.
She asked, "How are companies embedding D&I into their marketing strategies?"
Yeah, I mean, this is such an interesting one, right? Things are changing. For like the longest, business assumed the ICP to be like this homogenous executive image, but like that buyer doesn't exist anymore. It's a diverse buying group. You see people from different nationalities, you see people from different genders. There are people from different departments who are involved in the buying cycle. And like to really bring this to life, you need to kind of make sure it is visible in like your creative voice, your branding, your visuals, so that you can kind of, so that your brand almost mimics or represents like the buying committee. And also making sure like when you're running some of your tactics, whether it's like your campaigns, your webinars, your events, you're kind of bringing a diverse thought leadership group, or like subject matter experts who bring the full mix of D&I into kind of some of your marketing tactics as well. So that's kind of, things are changing. Like the name of the game is changing, and like tech companies have to like adopt to that.
I think that's a really good point. And Mariska, just some context, she's worked in both B2C and B2B. Like in the B2C space, it's obviously so much more easier to kind of like see that. But I think it's definitely becoming more apparent in the B2B space. And even from like campaign ideation, similar to what you were saying, right? You need when we used to invent robots back in the day, like we had a concept called radical collaboration where we would come up with an idea, pass it around the table, and someone else would come up with an idea, but building on what that person had written. And like before you'd go round, you'd have these crazy, wild ideas. There's just so much benefit to it. Mitali, superb. Congratulations, you made it. See, it wasn't too scary. The last two questions that I have for you is we build a lot of tools and technology at ABM Answered, or we did. We're very busy at the moment with a current project. But if you could invent a tool or technology, what would it be and why?
I think one thing that I would love to know is like we have a lot of these ABM softwares, but we none of them kind of show you like an interrelational map tool where you can like see the buying committee, or like it almost gives you like a map based on third party data. So probably it has to be some level of AI in it. So, based on like LinkedIn connections, or like content that person has created, you almost kind of have a power map on where how your buying committee is going to look. Because like when we kind of run these ABM campaigns, we almost like draw our own power map on like
Yes.
where the influence lies. And I think I wish there was some sort of tool which could almost like bring that to you on a table. So yeah, that would be kind of where I'd put some thoughts on.
Yeah, and I've spent a lot of time doing this as well, like persona mapping, buying
Yeah.
groups, and it's a nightmare because then people change. You know, if you're dealing with like it could be a handful of accounts, it could be 10 accounts or something. But like if you've got 10 people in each account, that's still 100 people. People are going to be going like off.
Yeah. And I
Um,
know Clay or things like that have started showing some of that, but I haven't like dug deep into it.
yeah, Clay's pretty good. I kind of gave up with it though. It's just so technical.
Yeah, it's very technical. That's the thing with Clay. I mean, I think I'll need a you need to kind of have someone who really understands how to use the product.
Yeah,
I mean, I've been at like in my previous company at DBT, we had Clay, but I mean, I think we just didn't use it to our
it's
full
very
potential.
expensive to if you get
It's
it
yeah,
wrong. I think
yeah,
that's like most AI tools. Anyway, alas, that is a good one, and I can visually see it as well. It would be amazing, for example, if it knew your company, who like the key players were, but had like a stronger like map around it, like a darker circle, and it's like, oh, you know who to target. I think data visualization is a cool way to go. Final question. Do you have a question, problem, challenge, a headache, preferably related to ABM, that you would like me to ask the next couple of guests?
yeah. I know we've discussed a lot about like sales team, SDR teams, and I think I'd love to understand with 5 years from now, the primary in like ownership for initial account engagement. Do you think we'll need BDRs and SDRs, or will it fully shift to kind of being the AE or an ABM strategist?
Such a good question. And I was having conversations with my co-founder about this last week. What do you think? Before, or do you want me to give away any?
I don't
We
know.
want to put words in people's mouths, do we?
I think I would love to hear from the others, but I'm like, I mean, there are a lot of tools that are coming where you can make it more personalized, but I think it depends, right? If it's like for some super big accounts, you still need, you need a super SDR. You don't need mass SDRs or like big SDR teams. You need these super SDRs who are like almost like one step away from becoming an AE, and that's how you're going to. I don't think we need the SDRs picking up the phone and like just pounding the phones or sending emails, because a lot of that can get automated and it can get very clever. Uh, but
The
I don't want to. I think this is a very controversial topic. So
It's yeah, I mean, look, we want everyone to keep their jobs, we're not in the business of getting rid of anyone. However, I would also agree, I feel like there's a lot of bloat. If you read predictable revenue, whenever it came out, like sure, let's get an SDR farm. The other point that you just mentioned there, which is very interesting, we work with a client that describes it like this. I feel it's quite cruel, but it is the truth. SDRs are basically a farm or a factory line to produce AEs. So you'll churn it
exactly.
so quickly in SDRs as well. That said, you do need those key players to go to events that are almost like brand reps and everything,
Yeah.
because then you've got no boots on the ground. Like you almost like a good ABM, in my opinion, is like you go to an event with a marketer, you got the salesperson, and you're both like working on, oh, that they're on our target list. Like, let's go talk to them. Let's work the angle. It's like the James Bond esque kind of Q and Bond
Yeah. For
sort of.
sure. For sure.
But
Yeah.
I don't. Okay, I'll ask. People are much more smarter than me, Mitali, so I'll ask them for their opinions. But thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.